I am waiting for everything to go live. And it looks like we may be having some issues, but that's okay. Doesn't appear as if I am live everywhere that I want to be, but that's okay. It is all right. So, have you ever opened a document or spreadsheet and something just looked off? Like spacing isn't right, or alignment looks kind of weird, and the columns don't line up, and you can't quite figure out why? So you start clicking around, and somehow it gets worse instead of better. Tonight, I am going to show you why that happens and one simple way to fix it so your work looks clean and consistent. Hey everyone, I'm Marie Oslebo. I am the founder of Tech Savvy Nurse Beyond Bedside Skills. If you're new here, welcome. I teach simple Microsoft Office skills, especially for nurses and professionals who were never actually taught how to use these tools. I am an award-winning nurse with over 20 years in IT, and now I help nurses and other professionals build real tech skills like Microsoft Word, Excel, Outlook, and PowerPoint so that you can feel more confident in your work and open up new opportunities. Learning new skills and stepping into something new, it's exciting and it's scary sometimes too. And some days you feel like you are crushing it. Everything is aligning, everything is working. And other days it feels like the computer is plotting against you and nothing is working. And that is totally normal. Okay. That's why I created this space because you don't have to do it alone. Every Monday, we tackle one small, powerful skill together because small steps lead to big wins over time. So, I want to say this clearly before we start. Okay. You are not bad at tech. You are not behind. You simply were not shown how to use this technology. So, tonight it's about small wins, not mastering everything. So if you're here live, say hello in the chat. And as always, drop any questions as we go along. No question is too basic. And if you're watching on replay, type replay and with your question or questions, and I will definitely follow up. All right, so let's take a look at why this happens. So here's what most people think the problem is. I'm not I'm not good at Word or Excel, quote unquote, right? I can't do it. It's not for me. But that is actually not the problem, okay? The real issue is Word and Excel are very structured, okay? And most people were never taught how to use the tool in the first place. And so you struggle and you try to make things look great, and it starts to make things look worse, maybe, or maybe not the way you want it to look, and you get frustrated. Man, do I know that. So I am here to tell you that it's not you, it's a technology that you just have not learned how to use. So that's where I come in. Okay. So when something's looking off and you're trying to fix it visually, right? Like things aren't aligning and you're trying to make it align right, you need to fix what is causing it. Okay. So, like I said, Word and Excel are very structured. So, Excel works in cells and Microsoft Word works with tabs or alignment. So once you master those two things and some styles, you're going to be well on your way. Okay. So gonna prompt you right now. So, what gives you more trouble right now, Word or Excel? Now, I sent out an email earlier today and I got someone replying Excel. So, I need to understand, well, there's a whole lot in Excel, right? So, is it you're working in formulas and you're not really sure? Or you're trying to work with formulas and you're not really sure what the error message is telling you because you haven't used formulas before? Is it you're trying to align the data in the cell and it's not aligning right? You're thinking, I'm clicking this button and it's going that way. So, tell me, let me know in the chat what is the most troublesome for you. And let me just take a quick look and make sure that that is not there. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so let me do this. I'm gonna share my desktop and I'm gonna show you a Word document. Now, this is my demo document, right? It's purposely messy. So we're gonna work with it. So let me go ahead and share my desktop. And we are going to show this one. Yep, perfect. I got the right document. So here's your Word document, right? And some things may be bolded and some things may be aligned kind of right. But it's really not aligning correctly, right? So this document issues found. I know it's not aligned correctly, although it looks like it is, right? It looks like it's centered in the page width, but I know it's not, right? Because I created the document. But if I wanted to say make it left aligned instead of right aligned, then I would want to make sure that it's right aligned here. And it is not, right? Because I clearly have it right aligned and it's not showing up, right? It's not going back. So what could be causing that, right? You're like, well, I want it to be left aligned here and it's not working that way. Well, what I can show you to do, and I'll make this full screen. What I can show you to do is in the toolbar on the home tab, right? You have a lot of different buttons here. And one button I will encourage you to learn how to use and toggle on and off is this paragraph setting. Okay, so when you roll over it, it says show and hide. What the show and hide does is it shows all the paragraph marks, like when you hit enter on your keyboard, that is what this icon shows you, is that backwards P, right? Now, the reason this was not aligning in the center or left align is because of all these spaces. And this is something I encourage you not to use when you're trying to align items, align stuff in a row or in a column. You do not want to use the space bar. I encourage you in Microsoft Word to set tabs. And I've covered this in a previous session. Feel free to drop back into a previous session of mine or come join us in the Beyond Bedside Nurses Leveling Up Facebook community. I would love to have you there because we cover all of this. So with this, you would want to remove these spaces, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete. And if I truly wanted this centered in the middle of the page, I would not use a space bar to do that. I would use the alignment tools on my home tab, again, to click center aligned. And this would put it centered within the page width. Okay. And that's important to distinguish between those two. Now, the same would go true down here in this other section where you see I have all these spaces in between where I was trying to align things, right? I was trying to fake you out thinking I'm aligning things. Well, in reality, I truly didn't, right? I'm just visually trying to make it align. So when someone comes behind you and they're trying to align things the way they know it should be aligned, they may have some frustration, right? So I encourage you to learn how to use tabs. And tabs are something, or even a table here, right? This I would throw into a table because then you can do so much more with a table than you can with just tabs. But for a down and dirty, let's get this just set up, you can certainly do tabs. And to do tabs, just quickly, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I would select the text that I want to use tabs on, right? Because then that allows me to set the tab for every one of those lines. Because if I just did it on this first line, I hit the tabs, the tabs would not carry to the next line. So Microsoft Word will only do what you tell it to do. So if you don't tell it to do it on every line, it's going to say, nope, I don't know what you're talking about. Nope, not doing that. So in order for the tabs to be on every line, I'm going to select all of those lines and I will put a tab mark at, say, the 1 inch because I want all the names to align. I'm going to guesstimate and I'll say maybe here for my second tab for the follow-up, just to give it some space. And then maybe the last one, I'll go way out here. But here's the thing. This one has decimals, right? You notice that? And I really want them to align on the decimal. So aligning on a decimal is a pretty neat trick that Microsoft Word allows you to do. And what you'll see is I have an L here, right? That means it's going to be a left tab. If I click in this upper right or upper left-hand corner just once, you'll see it goes to a center tab, right? So if I were to drop one over here, it would align, let me move it out of the 5, it would align as a center tab. So it would make it centered align from there. Now I don't want that. If I click again, it would make it right aligned. So it would look okay, but looking at 1.75 and 1.25, it wouldn't actually work here because it would be bumped out just one. So I wouldn't want that. If you click again, that's when you get the little decimal point with a centered align. So I'm going to use that one and I'm going to just drop it there and I'm going to pull down that L. So if you notice, I've set up tabs for all of these lines. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly just remove those spaces because it won't work with spaces. And I'm going to hit tab. And what you'll see, I can just remove that and all of those spaces and all of these spaces. And you'll notice that they are going to align on that decimal. So this is actually a nice feature of Microsoft Word that allows you to align your content in a table or in a tabbed row on a decimal point. So just quickly, not going to be perfect, but you'll get the drift. Now I'm going to toggle off my paragraph markings. So now I want you to see how it truly is aligned directly on that decimal point. So now it looks clearer. And yeah, it took me maybe, a little longer because I was demonstrating this for you. But truly, this is once you learn how to use tabs and learn which kind of tab you want, it will take you less time. So that's one thing. The other thing you can do when you're using, when you're trying to make your documents look better, and I've repeated this many times over the past several weeks, is styles. And this is just, something quick, right? So I'm going to turn my paragraph back on. I wanted to make sure there weren't any spaces before recommends. And if I select heading, see how, and I'm not even selecting it, I'm just rolling over it. See how it automatically changed the way it displays? That's what it's telling you. I haven't clicked on it. If I were to select on heading 2, and I'm just rolling over it, you see how it changes just ever so slightly. So you can see, before you even select it, you can see how you want your document to look by just rolling over these different styles and just doing those few things, right? We're not doing a whole bunch. We're just doing a few things. You can see that it makes the document look a little bit better. Now, one thing I want to point out to you is you'll see that on this last one where I selected conclusion, you'll see that I also have this other part of the paragraph here. Now, I'm going to take this off because I want to show you this icon here, right? So what this icon means is I held down my shift key and I hit enter. And what that does is that just says, go to the next line, give me a line break. It doesn't change the way the styling works. So if I truly wanted a different style, I would have to backspace, remove that line break, and then hit enter. And then I'm going to go back up to here and I'm going to select normal because I want it just to be a normal font. I don't want any other kind of formatting to this. And I'm going to shut off my paragraph headings. So just with those few things that we worked on, you can see that the document looks a little bit better, don't you think? All right, let me just check some comments. Make sure that there's no questions. And go over to the screen. All right, I don't see any questions or comments right now. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing that. Now, the next one is Excel, right? So Excel seems to be like the nemesis for a lot of people that I've been talking to recently. They struggle with it, and I get it. I struggled with Excel for a very long time, right? And I'll be honest, probably in the last, I don't know, 10 or so years, I got really better at it. And I've been working with computers for a long time. So I would say, yeah, it's been hard for most of my career, but I'd say in the last 10 or so years, I've gotten much better, much more proficient with certain types of elements that I use a lot in Excel. All right, so let me share this screen. Let me get to the right screen. Working with multiple monitors is nice, but then it gives you perfect. All right, so here we have just some test data. All right, I've said this over and over. These are fake names. These are fake dates. This is all fake information. Okay. And what you'll notice here is it really doesn't look that great, right? Dates are kind of all over the place, all over the place. And this is something that would quite honestly annoy me. You know, if someone was sending me this and the years weren't consistent, you're either 26 or you're 2026. And me, I'm a 4-digit year. I like 2026. That's the way I try to format everything. But you do you. You do you. Some people are just want to get done and be 26, all done. And that's fine. But what you can do with your, and I'm just going to make this a little bigger, with your spreadsheet. One of the first things that I do with a spreadsheet is I try to put things into tables because it gives you a lot more variability when you are using tables. So what I'm going to do, and this is just a short keyboard shortcut, if you will, I put my cursor in the first column, first row of my table that I want. I hold down my shift and my control both at the same time, and I use my arrow key that's on my keyboard, and I hit it once to the right. And then, still holding control and shift, I hit down once. Now, what that did is that selected the entire area of data that it sees or that it thinks you are looking for. Now, if your data is, there's line breaks or something, you may have to hit left or right arrow multiple times or down arrow multiple times to make sure you gather all the data that you want. Now, all I did was I held down Control Shift and used my arrow keys. Now, what I can do is do Control T, and what you get is the pop-up that says, oh, wait a minute, you want to make this into a table? Let me help you. So it says, and this is for lack of a better term, it says, oh, I want to go from A4 to F44, right? And my table has headers. So if I move this down, yep, my table has headers because I have nurse name, date, shift, unit, task, all of that. I can go ahead and click OK. Now, what it did is it just put data into a table. It didn't do any formatting really of the content of the table, but it did put it into a table format. Now, if you wanted to do better things, you can, double click between all of the columns so that they expand to the width that you need. For your dates, I would select the column, and sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to do manual manipulation with your dates because it gets confused between text and dates or text and numbers. So I selected the column, I went to my drop down, and I'm going to say a short date. And as you can see, it didn't like it. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So what that means is I'm going to have to manually change each and every one of these rows. Not a fun thing. So that's why it's important when you first start working with your spreadsheets that your data columns or data rows are set up and defined by what you want to be in them, whether it's a number, a text field, a date field, time, percentage, any one of these. And accounting and currency are two different, okay? One puts the dollar sign next to the number. The other one leaves it over on the left-hand side of the cell. So important for you to format your spreadsheet the way that you want and your data the way that you want. Now I selected short date, right? So if I were to put in 1/1 and we'll just say 25, right? It's going to make it 4/1/2025. And you'll notice that it's now right aligned and not left aligned. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're working with spreadsheets is to make sure that your data is selected or started out with the right number format. All right. Let's go back. All right, let's see. Any questions in the chat? No. Oh, I can get out of that one. Nope, no questions. Fantastic. All right. So here's what I want you to take away from tonight, okay? When something looks off, it's usually not you. It's usually something with the structure of your data, right? Whether you used a space bar to kind of align things or you used the wrong format in the cell of your Excel sheet, right? And so it may need to be massaged a little bit to make it better, right? And that could be using styles, it could be using tabs, it could be using a table. There are many different ways that you can format your content, your data, to make it look better. And once you kind of know what to look for, changing things is really quick. Now, if this was helpful, I'll be sharing more of these small practical tips every week. And if you want to keep learning step by step with others doing the same thing, you can join us in the Tech Savvy Nurse community. It is on Facebook. You can look up Tech Savvy Nurse Beyond Bedside Nurses Leveling Up. And I thank you so much for spending time with me tonight. Every small tech skill you learn builds confidence, and confidence opens doors that you may not even have noticed yet. And if you found this helpful, again, I encourage you to join us at Beyond Bedside Nurses Leveling Up community over on Facebook. And if you want more simple real world Microsoft Office tips, make sure you follow or subscribe on YouTube. I will be sharing these tips every week. If you know someone that could help, who could be helped by learning Microsoft Word, Office, feel free to invite them too, right? This space is so much better when we learn together, okay? You do not have to figure this out alone. So until next Monday, keep building those skills one step at a time. Take care.